Now that I have finished sewing the back along the seam where the back front and the back meet, I'm going to go ahead and pin these sides on, the inside of the wing on. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because of the way the piping runs around up here. This piece sort of comes up to meet that. So I really need to get this done before I can get the back done. So as you're working on your piece, just sort of think through, you know, how your seams are going to meet up and work in a way that's going to make the most sense. If this is your very first sewing project or your very first slipcover, don't start with something as complicated as a wing chair. Start with something really simple and clean lined, like an ottoman or a small stool, or just even a dining room chair with a simple skirt, which if you'd like a tutorial on how to make one of those, you can check out the April issue of Cottages and Bungalows, and I wrote a tutorial on that on how to make a skirted dining room chair. And that's really simple. So just stick with kind of simple stuff. Save that wing chair for another day. So if you notice, I'm kind of pushing the seam where the pieces meet into the corner where they're going to be, just to make sure it's fitting, and I'm kind of pulling as I go just to make sure this is all lining up right. Okay, so that's all pinned, and we're going to come back and trim that in just a minute. And now I'm going to come and pin this to the back and to the sides. Okay, so again, you're just lining up all of the edges. Make sure all of the raw edges are facing out in the same direction. All right, now we're ready to pin this one on. Again, be careful when you start pinning it, because this piece has to run all the way to the front. So you have to make sure that when you start pinning, that you're really pinning it so it's positioned in the right place. And again, this is kind of the hardest part, where you have 3 or 4 seams all meeting up in one place. It just kind of gets a little hairy there, a little complicated. Okay, and again, I'm holding the piping right where I want it to sit, and I'm making sure that when I'm pinning this, that the piece on the inside of the wing chair is laying flat the way I want it to. Now, there's a little bit of a rumple, but I don't know. I can live with that. It's a slipcover. It's, you know, it's not supposed to be. If you want something that's going to be super tight fitting, then, you know, either hire a professional. Even then, I don't know if you'll get something that's super tight fitting, but you know, either hire a professional or reupholster the piece. That's really the way to get a nice tight fit. Slipcovers are supposed to have a nice relaxed look. Okay, so around this corner here, since fabric, you know, if I hold it back in a corner, you can see it wants to fold. So I'm going to put in a few pleats, and you simply just fold the fabric under and go ahead and pin it into place. That's it. When you're pinning, also make sure all your pins are on the same side so that when you're sewing, you don't have to reach under the fabric to pull out the pins. And you also want to make sure that they're all going in the same direction. Generally, I mean, if you have some pins going in a different direction, that's okay. It just makes it easier to pull them out when the time comes when you're sewing. Okay. Make sure as you're pinning, you're leaving enough fabric for the back sides to meet. Okay, let's check out how it's going over here. Okay, so I'm starting to sort of pull this seam out a little bit. So I need to make sure I tuck it back in, give myself enough room there. Just always, it's about just always kind of checking how things are fitting. And I didn't do this with the first thing that I sewed back here because that's just a real simple line. But after I sew things, I always put them on the chair with the right side out, so I can kind of see how it's fitting, see if there's a place that is, I don't know, a little weird, or a place I need to go back and kind of fix a little bit. So this is done here. And now I'm going to trim along the edges. And what's also nice when you trim it, then you can kind of see like, oh yeah, this is fitting really well. But this is how I'm able to slipcover things so quickly, because I don't mess with paper patterns or measuring or any of that kind of thing. I just kind of go for it, and I use the chair as my guide, much the way like a dressmaker would use a form as a guide when they're making garments. Which, by the way, I've had a lot of people email me and tell me they make clothes, but they're kind of scared of the slip covers, which is so funny to me because I'm just terrified of making clothes. Well, not terrified. I mean, I guess I just do it, and if it didn't turn out, I just throw it away. But I don't know. I don't think I want to wear a drop cloth. I like having it on my furniture, but I don't think I'd want to wear it. But if you can make clothes, you can definitely make slipcovers. Slipcovers are not anywhere near as precise as clothing. Something that you put on your furniture isn't going to make your furniture look fat, you know? May make it look a little, you know, less refined, but yeah, if you can sew clothes, this will be no problem. Just think of it as you're just making a little dress for your chair. Okay, now at this point, I've pinned here and I've pinned here, and probably, you know, if you're fairly new at this, you're going to want to just stop there. But I'm going to go ahead and pin this side too. Now what I'm doing back here in the back is I'm pinning the back pieces together so that as I'm pulling it to pin the side, I know that I'm leaving enough fabric for these two pieces to meet. So put some pins in there. This is one reason why I don't do custom slipcovers, because it's so much pressure. I feel like they have to be absolutely perfect. And when I'm making things, I really don't worry about perfection. I care if it looks nice, and you know, it certainly looks better than the orange. And I don't know, it just doesn't bother me if there's a little pucker or if something's not perfect. So I'll sell my pieces because then people can see the imperfections and just make that decision for themselves if they mind it or not. But if it's custom, I feel like it just has to be perfect, and if it's not, then you know, I feel like I have to give them a discount, or I don't know. I just don't like it. I get stressed out. So for those of you who have asked me to do custom slipcover work, that's why I don't do it. Just too much stress. Okay. So now we have all around the outside of the wing pinned, and the back along this side, and the inside. So instead of pinning the other side now, I'm going to go ahead and take this off and get this sewn, make sure that it's fitting right, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so I finished sewing everything, and now I'm going to try it on and just see how it fits. Now, I was thinking about this as I was sewing, that you need to keep in mind that when you're pinning inside out, everything's going to be on the opposite side. Everything's backwards. So if I was just sewing this here on the, left side of the chair, then it's going to go on the right side of the chair. And so I honestly don't know what you do if you have like a sofa that has a chaise lounge on one side and not the other side. If it's an asymmetrical piece of furniture, I don't know. You got me. Anybody know what you do then? I guess you have to do the whole pattern thing, but I don't know. This method's so easy, so I just have always worked with symmetrical pieces of furniture. So, all right, there we go. So it's fitting okay. I'm here. I wish this was maybe a little deeper into there and a little tighter, but I can live with that.